Hello and welcome to Technology Tuesday. My name is James Moore and today we're going to be talking about recording classroom lectures. If you need to get in touch, my contact information is here. You can telephone me at area code 312-362-5870 or you can email me at jmoore@depaul.edu. Today we're talking about recording classroom lectures, and I'll be focusing on a device called the Sansa Clip. You can see it up on screen here. It's a small little device which allows you to record in the classroom and then export that recording as an MP3 file. I'm also using recording software to present this today. I'm using a particular piece of software called ScreenFlow, which works only for the Macintosh. However, it's a particularly good piece of software for recording in class and outside of class. But most of today will be focusing on the Sansa Clip. Podcasts come in three varieties at the moment. And on this graph I've color-coded the options that are available to you to create. The easiest is the basic MP3 file. The device, the Sansa Clip, allows you to create one of those. You can also create enhanced podcasts. These are essentially slideshows with static images, and those files end with the M4A extension. You can use tools like GarageBand to create these. They are of value, but we won't be talking about these today. And then the last form of podcast is the video podcast or vodcast. This is a little bit more complicated to create, takes more time. Essentially it's a video file that your students can watch on their computers, iPods or iPhones. And these files end with an M4V extension. These files can be created in ScreenFlow, but again, the concentration for today will be to talk about the simpler MP3 audio recording. Just so you know how your students might see these when they look at them on their computer, if they were using iTunes, the basic MP3 shows up as so. Just a basic file, it has a title, your students can navigate through the recording. Were you to create an enhanced podcast, the file might look like so on a student's machine. Here they can listen to your audio recording, but they can also see static images. These images are clickable. You can create links to websites from within this podcast. So you can see they're a pretty sort of valuable tool to create, but again, a little bit more complicated to create. And then lastly, the video podcast or vodcast is essentially a movie that students can play on their computer or through a mobile device like a video iPod or the iPhone. So the tools that we use for these recordings, I'm using a Snowball mic today. That's the microphone that I have plugged into my computer. You could also use this within the classroom environment to record what was taking place in the room. However, these devices are sometimes a little bit bulky to carry around. So what I use nowadays is a device called the Zoom H2. This provides the same level of functionality. It's, however, a little bit smaller and a more mobile device that you can take with you. But again, the device that we're focusing on today is the Sansa Clip. This little device like so. And I just want to show you how you might use that. In a classroom situation, you'll have your Sansa Clip and you can just simply switch it on, and if you've configured the device appropriately, there's a one-click record now button, and you just need to press that and then you can clip this device to a shirt. There's a built-in microphone which will now record whatever you say. It may pick up some of the conversations and comments of your students, but it's unlikely to pick up students who may be at the back of the room or talking quietly. So in a lecture situation, if you are asked a question, the best practice recommendation is to repeat that question. So that way your voice is picked up on the microphone and students listening to the recording afterwards are able to work out what the question was. Anyway, at the end of your lecture, you simply take the device off and press stop and save the recording. That file is now saved to your device, and you simply plug this into your computer and your Sansa Clip will show up as an external drive on your computer. You'll find your recordings within a directory or folder called Record on the device, and within that folder there is a second folder called Voice. This is where your voice recordings will be. You should see one or more files within this folder. The naming convention is VORC and then a number starting from 001. So on your computer, drag that file onto your desktop. That's transferred that from the device, and then delete the original file. That clears up space on the Sansa Clip for you to use in subsequent classes. Now, the recording that you have needs a little bit of editing. There's some dead air at the start and the end of the recording that you probably want to get rid of. I'm using a tool called Audacity to get rid of this. So in Audacity, simply open the file, which you've saved to your desktop, and that file will show up like so. I've got a very short recording here. Recording from a classroom situation will probably be 45 minutes, perhaps an hour and a half. All you need to do is to go into the start and the stop of the recording and get rid of the content that you don't want. So here at the start of the recording, I've clipped the device to my shirt. There's some background noise that I don't want. I can highlight and delete that. Same thing at the end of the recording. I can highlight, delete, and now I have everything that I want to share with my students. If I wanted to, I could do some additional editing and processing within this environment. I could go in and I could amplify the recording, perhaps, make things a little bit louder, or I could go in and I could normalize the recording and set things in such a way that the recording isn't too loud or isn't too quiet. Typically you won't have to do these things. What you will want to do though is to export this recording as an MP3, and here's the process for doing that. If you click on File, Export as MP3, choose a name to save your recording as, and here I'm using a template. I have a Word document that has naming conventions and metadata, so I can use that as a resource to ensure that I always have a consistent name and consistent metadata for my recording. But in this situation, I'm just going to save the file as is. I'm going to rename that later. The next screen you're presented with is the metadata for this file. So again, I'm referring to my template that has information that I can use. And I can simply copy and paste this between the two applications. Unfortunately, there's no educational genre set up within Audacity, so I'm going to use Other as my genre, but I will put some information into the comments. Okay, that has now been exported as a file to my desktop, and if we look, we'll see the MP3 there. Now I'm going to take my naming convention that I had in my Word document, and I'm going to apply that to this file. Okay, so we've created a recording from our classroom situation. The next thing that we need to do now is to share this with our students. There are a couple of ways that we can do this. We could simply upload this file into Blackboard, Or we could upload this to a web server and then link to the file. And then the last way of doing this would be to upload this to iTunes U. I'm going to choose that option today. It is fairly easy to upload to Blackboard, but you may find that the Blackboard administrators aren't too happy with you uploading a number of large files to your Blackboard site. We have an agreement with Apple to use iTunes U, so this is going to be how I'm going to share this file with my students. To get into iTunes U, you need to open a web browser and then go to itunes.depaul.edu. On that next screen, you should see a link that says Visit DePaul University on iTunes U now. If you click on that, it will open up a dialog box where you can put in your campus connection username and password. Now, I've arranged with DePaul staff to have the classes that I teach loaded into iTunes U. This allows me to create a secure area that only I and my students have access to. So here we are in iTunes U for DePaul University. If I click on College of Commerce, because I've logged in and been authenticated within this system, I should see the classes that I teach. So here are two Marketing 595 classes, and let's go into an older class. This is one that actually isn't active at the moment, so this allows us to use this for demonstration purposes. And you can see there are some recordings already there in place. Only I and my students can see these. My students need to use Campus Connection to log into this area. So this affords you a degree of security and privacy for the recordings that you create. Anyway, I'm going to add a new file, and the way I do this is to click on Upload and Manage Files. This opens up another web page, and on this web page I can click on Add New File, and then I can browse on my computer for the MP3 file that I've just created. So here it is. I'm going to choose that, and this is now in a queue being uploaded in the background. Now obviously the larger the file, the longer the process. The recording I created was pretty short, so this should appear fairly quickly within iTunes U. When I'm done, I can click on the Done button, which takes me back to iTunes. And now, within this screen, I should see the recording that's just been updated. It'll take a second for iTunes to make a couple of changes. I'm going to log out and log back in again just to refresh the screen. So I'm going back into the College of Commerce area. Going back into Marketing 595. And yet, there we can see at the bottom is the Technology Tuesday recording that we created today. Well, thank you for watching. If you have any questions about how to create your own podcasts, how to record what you do in the classroom, please get in touch and I'll be only too happy to show you what you can do. Thank you.